Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in March. So let's get started. First up is Vows and Ruins. This is the second book in the Legends of thezzmarr series by Helen Scheuerer. So normally I would never complain that a book is too spicy. Let me not say never. I typically would not complain about that. But this book, actually, let's see how long it is. 536 pages, which is pretty long. Like books now being the standard, like 400 to 500 pages, that is extremely long. That's like 8 hours of reading, at least for me on my Kindle. It depends how fast you read, but it's a decent chunk of time. But I would say this is like relatively short, like, okay, it's not short, but I'm saying I've read longer books that have less spicy scenes, like significantly less. Like they'll have like 1 or 2 spicy scenes, you know? Maybe even 3 or 4. This book, I kid you not, I think it had like 10, maybe even more. I could be wrong. I don't know if I'm like being over dramatic, but I feel like for me to notice, it had to have been excessive because usually I eat this stuff up. But when it starts to feel like every other chapter something is happening, don't get me wrong, I live for it, but it just felt like there was a quota or something. And each and every single spicy scene was delicious. It was great. Nothing wrong with it, because I can be kind of picky about spicy scenes. I liked the dirty talk. I thought what they were doing was interesting and hot, and I was into it. But I think after like the 5th time, you're kind of like, okay, is it just, I mean, God forbid, I want some plot with my spice. Because for me, if my only goal was to get turned on, there's other places you could go. I mean, no offense if you like want to read solely smut, but I don't really. I don't. I want the spice. I want it to be adult, spicy, descriptive, whatever, but I want it to feel earned and not repetitive. Not that it was repetitive, because like I said, every scene was like different and like great. It was written well, but I just got fatigued, I guess is the right word. But anyway, this overall was a good book. I think I gave it like 3.5, 3.75, but I would say more like 3.5, 3. Like it, just because it was excessive and I felt like it was lacking in other areas. So then we get to book 3, which is Fate and Furies, the third book in the Legends of thezzmarr series, and I give this a 5-star. I don't know if it was just because the stark difference between 2 and 3, but this book still had spicy scenes, but it was less. It was more balanced. There was a lot of plot going on, a lot of anticipation, and the found family. Can I just say, I've read quite a few books now, like, I don't know, 30, 40, I don't know. But ever since I've gotten back into reading, I feel like some of these male main characters are like the same person, you know what I mean? Like morally gray, broody man. Some of the female main characters can be warrior, badass, doesn't take any crap girl. These stereotypes you see in a lot of different books. But I feel like the friendships, the Cal and Kip characters in this series specifically, they just jump off the page. They have such a specific, funny banter. They're such sweet boys. I love the platonic male friendships. I don't have any straight male friends. I guess now I do, that my boyfriend has a bunch of male friends that I consider myself friendly with. At the same time though, like we're not as close as Althea is with these characters, Cal and Kip, I don't know, that's just like I've never connected with straight men in that way. I don't know, this is something like a stupid tangent, but I really like living, or I like observing this, and I feel like I have a parasocial friendship with these boys. Like they're just so sweet and cool and like funny. They just make me giggle. I love everything about these 2 male characters, and I feel like I've not read about a side character or friends to the main character that I've loved as much as these 2. Like just something about them is very, identifiable and lovable. So anyway, like I said, I did give the third book 5 stars. It feels a little bit excessive looking back on it, but that's how I felt at the time. So if I felt that way, it must have been compelling. I think I have a video review about it already where I talk about spoilers. So I'll link all my spoiler videos down below. Okay, next up, I read Carissa Broadbent's Crowns of Nyaxia series. I read Serpents in the Wings of Night, and I read Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Okay, can I go on a tangent right now? I do not get the hype behind this series. I genuinely don't understand. Maybe it's because it kind of is similar to Throne of Glass, at least the first book. I feel like people like that kind of like tournament competition thing, but I feel like it wasn't even exciting in this book, to be honest. It just was not. It was not exciting to me. I don't think I grew to love a single character. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, Cal and Kip, like, those are my babies. Like, I felt something towards them. I am obsessed with Wilder Hawthorne from Legends of thezzmarr series. When it comes to this series, I did not really care about anyone. Maybe I cared about, is her name Misha, I think? She was sweet. I feel like she had the most personality, maybe. Y'all, looking back on this, it's kind of a fever dream. Like, I just don't understand Oraya. I don't understand. I forgot the male's name. Raihn. I was not sold on the romance. I definitely thought they had sexual tension. And one thing I still say about this series is that I liked the spicy scenes. There weren't that many. I feel like people kind of sell this as like super spicy. It's not. I thought that the spice was well done. Like, it wasn't too much of it. It wasn't a lot at all. But the spice that you did get was quality. Like, the way that Carissa writes the spicy scenes is really, I think, unique. Like, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing abstract, but I definitely noticed that there was something different about the way that she did it. And I could feel the tension sexually between the two characters, but like, I was not sold on their like deep feelings for each other. I felt like, what did they connect on? I didn't understand how they fell in love. Like, both of them. Like, I felt like he was not all that interesting. She wasn't all that interesting. Like, it kind of felt like they just fell in love maybe because of the circumstances. Like, I don't think they actually loved each other as people. And then, I don't know, the second book, I thought it started off better, but then it just dragged, and I just really did not like the end. And the fact that it was a duology, I mean, nothing against duologies, but it just felt like, what did I read this for? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know, just the war and the way that the gods were involved. Like, I hate to say this because I don't want to sound mean, but it just felt kind of lazy. Like, it wasn't well thought out. It wasn't complex enough. It was predictable. Nothing about this, besides the spicy scenes and how well they were written, nothing about this series stands out to me. Like I said, I didn't care for any of the characters. I thought that the plot was nothing new. Y'all, I have to carry this girl because she's being a nuisance. And I don't think I would have gone that much into this book if it hadn't been so overhyped. Like, this is one of the most popular fantasy romance books out there, and I just think it's mediocre at best. I'm sorry. I hate to, like, I feel mean saying it because, I don't know, people like get in my head nowadays, like online, you can't say anything bad about a book. And it's like, okay, well, no offense to the author, genuinely. That's just my opinion. That's my opinion. And I heard Six Scorched Roses is a lot better, but I don't know if I trust those people who love this series. Like, why would I go and read this book? I don't know. Maybe it is better. Okay, next up, I read The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I heard about this book the most from Morley Gray K on Instagram, and I've seen a couple other people post about it, but mainly her. And this is a 5-star read for me. This is so good. I have a video talking about it, spoilers and everything. Just so many unique points that were hit about like domestic abuse, but like verbal abuse more so, and like power control. Okay, not this. From arguably a narcissistic person. Like, the villain is like villainous, like truly sick and evil. And sometimes I feel like villains are just, I don't know, just not villainous enough, you know? And that's fine. Like I like a villain who's redeemable or morally gray and nuanced. Like I like that, but I also like, I don't like it. It sucks, but when a villain is truly disturbed and evil, that really shakes the table. And it just creates a lot of conflict. And I think it is realistic because there are people out there who are narcissistic and who are set on ruining other people. And I thought that it could be relatable to a lot of people. I really like our female main character. It's, if you like female rage, you're definitely going to find it in this book, especially the second book. She goes on a villainous rampage, and at first you're like rooting for her and you're like, yeah, slay, but then you're like, oh, this can't be good for her long term, you know? And you see that whole process drawn out, and it can seem exhausting because and I like that though. I like that because the villain era isn't just like, you know, one day, obviously, but it goes on for quite a while, and you really see the self-destructive pattern start, and just seeing how she crawls out of that hole is interesting. So Book of Azrael is definitely a 5-star read for me. I was just gagged at the end. It was crazy. It really sets up the second book well. I thought it was unique. I was just drawn in from the beginning. I really like the use of gods, and it feels like a urban fantasy because there's like two worlds. There's one world where they're super behind the times, and then there's another world where they actually have phones and TVs and everything like that. So you get the best of both worlds. You get different types of creatures, like I said, gods who are powerful. And the romance is my favorite part. I forget if it really goes anywhere in the first book, but the second book is quite spicy. I love the dirty talk. Like this is one of my favorite books where there's spice in it. Like it has some of my favorite spice just because the tension between these two is insane. I feel like the buildup was great. It wasn't too long, but it was still like long enough where, okay, it was long enough where it had me on the edge of my seat. And then when it happened, like I know people don't really like, some people don't like when the characters are vocal with each other, but I like seeing that. Like, I don't care if it's not realistic. And people are like, why are you talking during the act? Like, I want to see the words on the page. I don't just want to read the same thing about like how they touched each other's leg and they kissed on the neck. Like, I want to hear things. So you get a lot of that, but I don't think it's cringe in my opinion, but obviously that's subjective. But the second book I did give like 3.5, 3.75. I think because, oh my God, there was, I don't know, is it a metaphor? There was a certain phrase that was repeated consistently throughout this book that I got irritating, and like it made sense in the end. Like there was a reason behind it. It was supposed to represent something, but I still think that it was extremely excessive. And this book was also longer than it needed to be. I think it just didn't hit the same as the first book, but I still thought that it was great, and I cannot wait for the third book. Like this is one of my favorite series right now. Next up is another suggestion from Morley Gray K, and it is the Shadows of the Tenebris Court series. So I read the first two. The third one comes out, I think, in June, and I cannot wait. I think that these books are great, like much better than I expected. I saw someone on Reddit post about it saying, like, this was so fun. It was different. Just they really liked it a lot, and I was happy to see that. So I love these two books. I think that it's a lot spicier than I expected. It's like the guy has a piercing down there and he uses his shadows. I know everybody has seen a shadow daddy probably wield his shadows when being intimate, but this was a little bit different. It was like upgraded, you know, like doing some crazy stuff a little bit. But it was fun. Like I didn't expect that from this book. I will say there's like, if you're into voyeurism, there's quite a few scenes that play into that, if you will, which I was a fan of. So if you're a fan of that, then you'll like this. And I think a praise kink as well. So I just really enjoyed the spice. I mean, at times there were some things that Bastian said that kind of gave me the ick. I won't lie. Like, I really appreciate how body positive he is because our main character is curvy, and that's something that is touched on quite a few times. But sometimes it just feels annoying. Like, I don't know, like I go into it in another video, like kind of performative, like I don't know, like as a curvy girl myself, like I would just personally cringe if a guy was like trying to like talk to me about it. Like it's one thing like when him and his friends like defended her against other people, or like it's one thing for him to hype her up or say that he loves her thick thighs, which he does. That's all fine and dandy, but when sometimes he tries to like not hype her up, but like he didn't say this exactly, but it kind of gave, you know, you're still beautiful. Like, don't let that get you down. He did not say this, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing very loosely, but it's just, it's like, shut up. You know, it's like, you don't even get it, sir. Like, why are you even speaking about this right now? Like, sometimes it would just like come out of nowhere. There's a lot of unique stuff in this story that I haven't seen in other books that I can't really touch on quite without spoiling. But like I said, I love that our main character is plus size. I like that some of the spice was very, I don't want to say it's like taboo. No, but it is. It's taboo, but it's not hardcore. So I feel like this is like a good book that I think a lot of people would like, even if you're not into voyeurism or you're not into like some of the crazy like shadow stuff that they do. Like it'll kind of like catch you off guard, but it's not so polarizing, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe y'all will disagree. Like if you're very like prude, is that an offensive word? I don't know. If you're very prude, you won't like this, but like, I mean, maybe you shouldn't read like spicy books at all. But I will say like there are spicy books that don't have some of these themes. So this is like a little bit of a step up without being excessive. And I feel the need to like explain that because I enjoyed this so much. Like I feel like it was perfect for me. But like if there was anything, well, it was almost a little too much. Like when I don't know, okay, I can't say anything without spoiling, but like there was just certain aspects that I was like, whoa there, you know? And I'm not even prudish, but it was a little adventurous. So this series will have you clutching your pearls. I really like the female friendships. I just like how unique this story was. Like there's shapeshifters, there's a mystery that I can't really describe. The whole plot of the second book I can't go into right now, but it's a very unique situation, which maybe it's been in a book before, but it presents a challenge to our main character. There is like a bigger conversation about women and feminism and choice being ripped from these women. So like that's like a big part of it. And I really like that. I will say this is not really a spoiler because this is in the synopsis for the first book, but our main character is married, but her husband is estranged. So I will say that that's like a major part. Like it's just a small detail at first, but obviously him being estranged, I mean, you can kind of put two and two together. Like, who is this man? Like I said, women, their choice was kind of ripped from them, and you don't find out like the story of, well, you do know a little bit about why he's estranged, but you don't get more details until later. How that comes back around in the story, I think, is very interesting, and I haven't seen it been done before. Lastly, I read House of Flame and Shadows. So I think I spoke about this before, saying that I stopped around 60% of the way through, and I was like, I don't know if I could finish this. I was going to put it off for as long as possible because I loved the first book in the Crescent City series. I gave it 5 stars. I stand behind it. It made me cry. I was in love with these characters. I couldn't wait for them to get intimate because in book 1, there was like none of that. It was super long, but it didn't feel like it to me. It was just so interesting and dynamic. Then I got to the second book. Girl, I can't even stand Hunt and Bryce anymore. Like, not that they were bad, but just cringe. Like, like all of a sudden, the sexual tension and the sexual chemistry gone for me. I don't know. Something was off. So I get to this third book. I think I quite literally stopped after the first intimate scene in House of Flame and Shadow with Hunt and Bryce. And I was like, get this away from me. Like I did not pick it up for weeks. And at that point I was like, I don't even remember what's going on. Is it too late? But anyway, I returned and it came back to me quickly. And I said here in my Goodreads review, I was dreading returning to it, but I finally did it. And I enjoyed the last 20% a lot. I'm so sad it's over, but I think the story did come to a good close here. I'm curious to see what comes next in this universe. And I said that I would have more thoughts to come in a full video. I kind of want to do a separate video because I took a lot of notes. I took notes for all these books actually, except for maybe the Carissa Broadbent books. But most importantly, I do have to say that this book could have and should have been much shorter. Yeah, I agree. This book was too long. I think that everything came together really well. Like, I know we like to joke about how Therion's chapters and Isaac's chapters were like a snooze fest, and like I get it, but it's so interesting. I don't know how Sarah does this. Like, I would get myself confused. I would lose interest, but somehow she was able to, have all these side characters and side stories, but they all came in at the end somehow to contribute to the outcome. And it was interesting. Like, I feel like it was tied up really well. Hunt and Bryce, the romance is cringe to me, and it makes me sad because in book 1 I swore that they were my faves and like they were the hottest couple ever. And the romance, like not only just the sexual tension, but just like the connection that they had in the beginning, it was so wholesome. Yet they had like the hottest tension. Like, I was just rooting for them. Like, they had the cutest friendship. They bonded. It was just, I felt it. And then they lost me. Like, not only in book 2, but in book 3. Like, it felt more like Sarah J. Maas was like telling me how they felt, and I just didn't feel it at all. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's actually crazy. And like, this isn't even biased because I loved them. So like, I had every single reason to like force my brain to love it, and I couldn't. I think I ended up giving this book 4 stars, which is actually crazy. I'm not sure why I did that, but maybe it's just, I don't know. I do tend to like the way that Sarah J. Maas wraps up a series, although I've only done that twice with her. But I don't know, she only has 3 series. But I liked how it came to a close. Like, I don't think there was any loose ends for me. I really liked Lydia and Rune's story. Like, surprisingly, they became my faves. Although Rune did say some weird stuff about like how most guys wouldn't like a girl with kids. I was like, what? Just keep some stuff in your head. Like, what are you talking about? But other than that, like, I generally liked Rune. And now at this point, I like him more than freaking Hunt, which Hunt didn't do anything wrong to me, but it is what it is. Honestly, I don't know why I gave it 4 stars. It really did not deserve it because I stopped reading it for weeks because it was so boring to me. I did not even like the main romance by the end of it, but I guess I just liked the ending. I really liked the side romance, and it didn't have any loose ends, so I felt good about it. I don't know, but whatever. I have a soft spot for this series because I loved book 1 so much. I felt like book 2 was a flop. So the fact that this ended kind of well and like better than I expected, like I feel like that was maybe why I rated it 4 stars, because it didn't ruin the series for me, which was like the only goal, unfortunately. So that is that. Those are all the books that I read in March. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye.